Hey, good folks. It's been a while since we last posted a video. This time is going to be a little different. We've got with us our man here, Mr. Yazin, from the company called Verify.
Hey everyone.
Yeah. So, what can you tell us about yourself?
Sure. So first off, let me just say thank you for having me.
Yeah, sure.
And, for the nice T-shirt as well.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure, man. So don't mention it.
So a bit about me then and Verify. I come from a payments background. Worked in a startup called White Payments, similar to Stripe in the Middle East, and we later got acquired by Payfort, which is now an Amazon company. And I spent the past several years of my life working in the payment space, very familiar with the sort of challenges of the payment space. And now I'm working on, with a few friends, working on this company called Verify, which aims to make it easier to buy and sell stuff using cryptocurrencies.
So why? So how did you think about Verify in the first place?
I think it's the combination of several things and several parallel thoughts. In cryptocurrencies, when you pay someone, the payments are actually final, so you can't if you can't get your money back after you've sent money to someone.
Unless they basically initiate a new transaction.
Yeah. The transaction itself is final; it can't be reversed.
Of course, yeah.
And so this is great for digital goods, but when you're purchasing actual items, so physical products, and you need to have a facility for returns, like refunds, in case the item you receive is damaged or you don't receive an item at all from the seller. And so we're very familiar with a lot of these challenges. Since my team and I, we worked on disputes and chargebacks over several years, so we're intimately familiar with these challenges, and we think there's a way to overcome them using the Verify solution.
So, do you think that? I understand that there may be some solutions out there. For example, I was in a conversation in Bitcoin Talk about I was about to purchase something using Bitcoin.
Right.
And I was worried that the person may not send me what I was asking. So a third member in the forum, was basically a legendary member, proposed that he would facilitate an escrow facility where basically I send him the transaction, the money, he keeps it on hold. When I get the item, he basically sends the money over to the seller. So these are solutions showing up in the market now, in the community.
Yeah.
So, do you think there isn't any other solution in the market out there?
No. I mean, I think there's a bunch of them, and they all have their own faults. And as a result, you haven't seen great adoption for any one particular solution. So there's certainly opportunity for a better solution. But currently, there are makeshift arrangements like the one you described, where you try to come up with some sort of escrow situation. So in the case of an e-commerce transaction, you have a buyer and a seller. You find a trusted third party in the middle, where the buyer pays the trusted third party, who then pays the seller only once the buyer indicates they're happy with the product that they received. So this sort of works, but it sucks for the seller, because the seller now has a huge cash flow issue on their hands. They have to pay their suppliers, they have to pay their employees, and suddenly, there's this third party who's holding the funds for potentially weeks until an item is eventually delivered. And so escrow's very limited adoption, and as a result, there's an opportunity if you can figure out how to crack this huge issue, which is how do you provide buyers with 100% protection, but simultaneously pay sellers immediately.
Make both parties happy.
And make both parties happy. If you can figure out how to solve that problem, then you've solved the problem of crypto commerce.
So tell me something. There is an ICO that has recently, basically Moneta and UTrust.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they basically claim that they provide what do you call reputation for both parties. What's different about you and them?
Sure. So we actually go into detail about this. If you're interested, we'll post a link to the Medium post, which explains all of these details. But just high level, Moneta, they have a reputation system, so they have this concept of reputation. But where it's lacking is actually providing buyer protection. So you have a rating system for buyers and sellers, but you don't have like that rating system doesn't result in buyer protection. So if I buy something and I never receive it, my only recourse is putting a bad rating on the seller, which is great for the next person, but it sucks for me because now I don't have the thing that I ordered. And so that's Manita. And then there's another one called UTrust,
yes,
which you described. Again, here it's different because they provide buyer protection. And again, like this is the case for Manita and UTrust, both. There's no product. So we literally have to go with whatever it is they describe in their white paper. Because they haven't built an MVP, we're unable to check the code of anything that they've developed. And they have, like in the case of UTrust, they actually have no payments background. And the technical team has never built a payment solution before. So anything that in order to properly assess a company, all we have is the marketing material that they've shared. So they describe a situation where you get 100% buyer protection, and you also get like what they call dynamic seller payouts, but they make like no explanation of how that is governed, and they have no underlying reputation protocol, which means other applications cannot use this reputation data. It becomes proprietary to UTrust itself, and so the primary issue I think is there's no execution record for the team.
And I think having reputation protocol is key here because. A team, you can acquire a team at some point of time later on. If you successfully executed an ICO, you get enough funds to hire a proper team. Yeah. But I think what's different here is that you kind of separated the protocol from the payments, and you basically enabled more applications over the protocol. I think that's very important here. Like loans,
it's absolutely key because if you think about it, like crypto commerce today, volume-wise, it's probably around 50 million, and total online sales, or if you include retail, that's looking at about $20 trillion, and so there's quite a gap there. Yeah. So for every $400,000 spent in the real world, $1 is spent in the crypto world, and so the size of the market is pretty small. So being able to extend beyond just e-commerce and allowing things like loans and other applications, micropayments, is going to be crucial, at least in the early stage.
To keep this video short, this will basically be my last question.
Sure.
You opted for an ICO instead of seeking investments from corporations or whatever. Yeah. So how can people? I think one of the main reasons you went for ICO so that the public can participate.
Yeah, exactly.
So how can the normal people like me or whoever participate in the ICO?
So we call it a token sale. We're essentially selling these cred tokens, which fuel the reputation system, the reputation protocol, and we're selling these cred tokens initially at a discounted rate. And the way you participate is, we start the token sale date on the 29th of November, and on the 29th of November, you'll be able to come to our site. We give you the contract address for Ethereum or a Bitcoin address, and once you transfer the funds over to that address, you would receive your tokens in exchange.
Basically, that's how the participation happens.
Yeah, and eventually, once these tokens hit an exchange, you'd be able to exchange these tokens with other people, and get back Ethereum or whatever it is that you want to get back.
So thank you, Yazin, for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure.
Hopefully, you can do another video in the future with a more detailed and technical video. Yeah,
I'd love to.
All right, cool. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
If you got any questions, feel free to drop them down below. And if you have any comments from Mr. Yazin, feel free to ask. He has. I will post the links to to Verify's Twitter account, Facebook, as well as Bitcoin Talk threads. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.